At 80 years old, the Empress Dowager opened her eyes, only to find herself back at 18 before she was even married. Having lived through a lifetime of palace intrigue, the first thing she did after being reborn was decide to lie flat and do nothing. In her previous life she had fought her way to the throne, finally ruling the empire behind a curtain. But her son grew distant and her grandson stopped loving her. In the end it was that same grandson who sent her off with a bowl of poison wine. Since all her scheming led only to misery, she figured this time she might as well rest. But life clearly had other plans, because trouble came knocking again and again. At her grandfather's birthday banquet, her older sister presented her with a new outer robe, and just her luck, the dress turned out to be identical to the county princess's gown. Before she could explain, her sister twisted the story, claiming she had insisted on wearing it. The princess was furious that someone dared dress like her, and demanded the girl be taught a lesson. But this was no timid girl. She was a former champion of palace battles, and surrender was not in her nature. Calmly she took off the robe, handed it to her sister's maid, and said the maid shouldn't secretly send her clothes anymore. With that one gentle remark, the crowd instantly took her side. After all, no one would wear something that didn't fit. It was clear the sister had done it on purpose, setting her up to clash with the princess. As the tension grew thick, their grandfather arrived. The sister rushed to offer her gift, a grand painting of soldiers being inspected before battle, a former general himself. He admired it immediately. The sister glanced smugly at her sibling, and asked what she had prepared. The girl smiled quietly, picked up a pipa, and began playing a song of departure for war. The melody struck deep. Her grandfather's eyes turned red. That tune had been her late grandmother's favorite, the one she played each time before he rode off to battle. When the music ended, he stood up, ignored everyone else, and asked the girl to walk with him. That small favor sparked jealousy in her younger sister. Later another woman stepped forward, remarking that the girl was not as simple as she seemed. Soon the entire family entered the palace to celebrate the emperor's birthday. Seeing those familiar walls again, she only wanted to stay as far away as possible. But the princess still remembered the matching dress incident, and at the banquet suggested a game of passing the flower. Whoever held it when the drum stopped would have to perform a talent. Her true intent was to humiliate the girl before the emperor. Sure enough, the flower landed in her hands, and the drum fell silent. She knew she had been set up, but still stepped forward with composure. She said she had brought no special gift, and could only write a single word of blessing for the emperor's long life. Then she took up a brush, and in one breath, completed a grand scroll of 100 characters for longevity, each written in a unique style. The hall fell silent in awe. How could a girl of such low birth write with such skill? The emperor was delighted, and asked what reward she desired. To everyone's surprise, she knelt down. She said her birth mother had died young, and the lady of the house had raised her since. But to this day, she had never offered incense to her real mother, nor knew where her spirit tablet was placed or where she was buried. Her only wish was for her mother's name to be entered into the family shrine, so she could finally fulfill her duty as a daughter. The moment she spoke, the concubine nearby turned pale, and hurried to kneel. She insisted the girl was lying, that her mother's tablet was already in the shrine. She was only too young before to be allowed to pay respects. The emperor nodded, and told the girl to visit often, to honor her late mother properly. The concubine fumed inside, realizing the girl had used the emperor's compassion against her. Once home, she exaggerated the story, claiming the girl had embarrassed her before the emperor. The father didn't hesitate. He slapped his daughter across the face, calling her unfilial, and demanded she kneel and apologize to the concubine.